Today, we're tackling the question you've been waiting all your life to know the answer to. Okay, maybe not that long, but if you're watching this channel, you probably want to know whether Irvine, California is actually a good place to live. Known for its glistening master plan communities, top-ranked schools, and tech hub status, Irvine is a dream for some. But is it really all it's cracked up to be? Let's discuss that now. And stick around for later on in the video when we discuss why one of Irvine's biggest pros might actually be a con. You won't want to miss it, because it could really surprise you. Let's get started.
So first, let's talk about the three things that Irvine is so famous for, and then we'll kind of get into, is it really true? Is it all it's cracked up to be? So obviously, it's really famous for the school district. It's really famous for its crime and safety statistics, and then it's really famous for its glistening master plan communities and its amenities. So a little later on, we'll talk about the schools. That might be something that is a little bit surprising to you. So I kind of hinted at that in the hook.
A potential twist.
A potential twist. But let's talk about first, the glistening master plan communities, the amenities. Is it all it's cracked up to be? So I would say it is.
Yeah, I was just like, it's kind of hard to argue that. Obviously, these communities, again, Irvine is like the granddaddy of master plan communities, seemingly. I think maybe they popularized it the most throughout the world.
It seems like it. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to say we're wrong, that we're liars because we say that Irvine's the granddaddy of master plan communities. It really helped popularize it. Whether or not it was the first or not, I don't know.
I remember when I was going to UC Irvine, I was reading an article in the Orange County Register, and they showed in outside of Beijing, there was a city that was kind of almost an Irvine replica.
Yeah.
It was, and this is, obviously it's only 5 years ago because that's how long I've been removed from UC Irvine. But no, so it's one of these things, it at least popularized it, right? It might have been the first, but really it made it this huge thing where you had these villages. So it wasn't just the subdivision that you were in, it's actually the general community. So Irvine's got 20 plus what they call villages where, let's say Woodbridge is one of the villages. And so you have community amenities as well as, let's say, if you're in your own subdivision, you have those amenities as well, right? So again, I would say it is definitely what it's cracked up to be, in that it also depends on how old the community is, because let's say Woodbridge or Turtle Rock or Northwood, these were kind of more of the original ones, and then they were built in let's say the 70s and 80s. But then you have stuff to this day that's being built, let's say in Portola Springs, and actually even I would say the Great Park's almost pretty much done being built at this point. But basically, they're even ramping it up to even more amenities, right? Like a nicer, beautiful pools, lap pools and all this other stuff. So over time, you're just seeing these absolutely stunning communities being built up all over the place. So before we continue, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Sean Nazad.
And I'm Courtney Nazad.
And we're licensed realtors here in the state of California. And if you're watching this channel, you might be thinking, wow, Sean, I love Orange County. I love the blue skies. I love the perfect weather. I can't wait to move it here. Now, the problem is I'm not local. I may be out of state. I may be even out of the country. So I don't know what to do. I totally get that. That's when you reach out to us. We can find that perfect home for you. We know all the nooks and crannies of the area, so we can be your boots on the ground, giving you virtual tours of the homes as well as the neighborhoods. So when you do come out here, your time is spent super efficiently. So what you want to do is when you give us a call or shoot us a text.
Yes, that number is a cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country. Yeah, and I will say, some people might complain that Irvine seems sterile, or Irvine is just, everything is a different shade of beige, and I would definitely say there is some truth to that. But I will say, as somebody who used to hate Irvine because I thought it was too sterile, it really does grow on you. It really is just nice. Even the older parts of Irvine, it's just nice. Everything about Irvine is nice. So, I feel like people love Irvine that's one of the reasons, and I would say that it if you're looking for that, there really is no better place than Irvine.
Yeah, if you don't like HOAs, I think you need to look somewhere else.
Yeah,
Again, there's other parts of Orange County that basically don't have HOAs, but if you, obviously you're going to Irvine, you're embracing the HOA vibe.
Yeah.
You want that layer of just kind of consistency, right? You do want it where you don't have cars parked all over the place or unkept lawns. You want some sort of level of uniformity. Again, not to the point where every home is the same, because even the newer communities, they've kind of done a good job of changing the facades where it doesn't look exactly like one home is the same as the next. But at the same time, you got to embrace the HOA stuff. You got to embrace HOA living if you're coming to Irvine, because I don't know why you'd be coming to Irvine otherwise.
Yeah, I would say that the HOA living, it kind of just is a microcosm of what Irvine is, and that is convenience, right? You talk about the Orange County bubble, you don't want to leave the bubble, but Irvine, it's to the nth degree. You don't want to leave your 5-minute radius. It is so convenient. Everything is right there for you. Yeah,
because you have the orange bubble, right? So you just don't want to leave Orange County to go south, east, north, anything. But then they have that Irvine bubble within it because Irvine itself is all self-contained. I mean, you have, again, we'll get into it later, but you have like all the attributes you need out of living in an area right here itself.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the crime and safety statistics. Now this one gets a little bit, I would say, it's hard to say because you can really only use anecdotes as well as the statistics, but the statistics only mean so much, especially because I think the most recent one that they released, they haven't released it for 2024 yet. So I don't know if for 2024, who was the safest city in America according to FBI data, of 250,000 or more. The most recent that was released, it's still Irvine. And then, obviously statistics are one thing. You want to give your spiel about statistics?
Well, yeah, my spiel about like crime and safety, especially because it's, again, very subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I might think is safe and what you might think is safe could be completely different things. Some people still want gated communities within Irvine itself, which again has a very good reputation. And some places in Irvine, like Shady Canyon, has 2 gates. So now not just 1 gate, but you got 2 gates, and people just really want that layer of, I guess, that peace of mind, I suppose. But having said that, it's so subjective in that what I might think is safe, you might think is safe, is totally different things. And so what I recommend to people is that, hey, okay, obviously take this data. There's local crime data as well you can find from Irvine, but as well as niche.com and like an FBI data when it is available. And then, but it's still like, let's say we're kind of identifying some neighborhoods and communities. Okay, go to those areas at different times of the day and in the evening. And so kind of get a feel of how that feels for you.
Yeah.
And then you take that personal feeling and you combine that with the data, and hopefully you get a pretty good sense of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. And then I can only speak anecdotally, and that, I always feel completely safe in Irvine. Like, as a woman, I have run at night in Irvine, never thought about it at all. So, I mean, obviously this is all anecdotal, like Sean said. So, and then we will get a little later on, talk about the schools in Irvine. So stay tuned for that. And then before we continue, don't forget to comment if you are thinking about moving to Irvine. Where are you coming from? We always love to hear, everyone's personal story.
And what's drawing you here.
Yeah, and what's drawing you here. So we love to hear, what is drawing you to the area. So another reason that people are drawn to Irvine is they've heard that it has a very resilient market in terms of, its ups and downs. So I always like to say, in 2008, when everything crashed, of course Irvine went down, but if you actually compare what happened to Irvine to the rest of the county, to lots of other places in the county, it didn't go down as much. It's very resilient. So I think that's something people think, oh, I'm putting my money there. It's a safe place to put my money. That's kind of what its reputation is. So what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, I will say is like with Irvine, like, you do seem to have, as far as that buyer is concerned, if people are either buying cash, putting a significant down payment, like I guess they have the wherewithal to kind of weather a lot of economic turmoil, right?
Yeah.
From that perspective. And on top of that, I will say that, okay, as far as desirability goes, Irvine is kind of one of those cities, like, I would lump that in with a lot of the coastal cities in Orange County. This is a city that people want to get to. It's not like they're settling for Irvine. It's not a stepping stone type of city. They want Irvine bad, as much as they want Newport Beach or Laguna Beach bad. They really want Irvine, right? So if prices even change, it's not like, again, I've worked with people that, let's say, that live in the Inland Empire and have to commute to Orange County for work. They would prefer not to live in the Inland Empire with many of these people. It's just that obviously the price point or whatever the reasons are, that's where they are. And those are the places that seem to have huge swings to the negative when there's economic turmoil. So again, the fact that it's just so desirable and worldwide known as being a desirable place. I can't tell you, even with the metrics on our channel, people want to know about Irvine. This is a very different thing than it used to be. Growing up, Irvine was in another city, a nice, it was a fine city, but nothing really notable. But now it's almost more notable than Orange County itself.
It's weird just how many people are interested in Irvine, even compared to Newport Beach, which you'd think there'd be a lot of people searching because they want to know what it's like to vacation there. But it's just weird how Irvine has this cachet. It's really changed over the last 10 years. Irvine is like the place to be.
Yeah, I mean, and again, not that there's not interest in Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, Huntington Beach, that kind of stuff, but Irvine is right up there as far as where people want to be. Yeah. And it's funny because like you can see it in the price points. I mean, Irvine is way more expensive than Huntington Beach. Not quite as expensive as Newport and Laguna, but those are like 2 of the most expensive places in the world. Like, and Irvine is, again, just it's about like, given the month, it could be the 3rd most, pricey city in the county, which is, again, pretty incredible because, again, I went to UC Irvine no one in the country knew what Irvine was when I was going to college here. So it's kind of crazy to think how much this has all changed.
So another thing that Irvine is famous for, and this is all of Southern California, coastal Southern California, because you get a little bit inland, it starts getting a lot hotter.
Yeah, you feel it.
That is the weather. Southern California famous for the weather. And it is as nice as advertised. However, when you come here to Orange County, you will become a weather wuss.
Yeah.
Nobody complains more about the weather than people in Southern California. So you'll probably notice that parts of Irvine, maybe like the eastern parts of Irvine, are 10 to 15 degrees hotter than the coast. So you might complain about that. So if you're talking about the creme de la creme weather, it's going to be right on the coast, coastal, Newport, Laguna, all across, Santa Barbara on down to San Diego. Best weather in the world. So Irvine isn't quite as good as that.
Yeah, it's truly the Princess and the Pea, right?
Yeah.
Like if you read that fairy tale, Princess was like, there's a single pea that was on 20 mattresses or something, and the princess goes, oh, my back was sore because I felt something wrong. You're like, what's wrong with you? That's how we are in Southern California. That's how we feel about weather. We actually really can feel a single degree difference in change. It's kind of sad, but it's kind of incredible that we are that sensitive. And you coming here, you're like, oh, but I'm coming from New York or whatever. That won't affect me. Trust me, once you actually get here and you're here for a few months, you'll be completely acclimated.
Days.
Yeah,
few days.
because you'll know, you're like, wow, this is what perfect weather is. And you'll notice when it's not perfect, right?
Like if it gets a little humid, like in the spring, change a little, and you're like, ooh. But then on the flip side of that, because the weather is so nice in Southern California, I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this. People will put up with a lot of stuff for that weather. I mean, I feel like California succeeds despite itself because it's so nice.
Yes. California's got 99 problems, but weather ain't one.
So now let's talk about what we kind of teased about, and that is the school system. Obviously, Irvine is famous for the Irvine Unified School District, very highly ranked school district. I think the last time I checked, niche.com ranked Irvine as the 5th best city for public schools in the whole country. So it's interesting because obviously the school district has some really great statistics, and if you want to send your kid there, they will have the opportunity to have a fantastic education. But on the flip side of that, there is a dark side to the Irvine Unified School District. It is a ton of work. We talk to parents that have kids there. The workload is way higher than anywhere else, really, honestly, that I've ever seen that's not a private school.
At a very young age, too.
At a very young age, starting in kindergarten. So it's like, if you want that, that's great. Lots of people want it. Trust us.
Yeah, it is funny because it almost sounds like we're bashing it, but then I know that a good 70% of the people watching going, that's what I want. Like, bring it on.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, we have friends that have left Irvine because they thought it was just too much. Like one of Sean's good family friends, they actually moved out of Irvine. They moved to Aliso Viejo because they felt like their daughter was spending too much time on school. She didn't have enough time for friends, for extracurricular. They were on vacation out of the country for the summer. She literally had to go home herself to finish a project in the summer for school. And she wasn't even in high school yet. And for them, they were like, we're done. Like, we're not doing that.
It's like you're living for the school. And also, I would say another angle it's not as desirable about Irvine is that whatever you're zoned for. So Irvine doesn't offer much in the options of inter-district transferability. So wherever your home is, that's the school you're going to. That's just kind of the meat and potatoes of it. So even though there might be another school you would actually prefer, that's kind of where you're stuck. Now, there are other, again, because we work with generally Orange County itself, there are other school districts around that are, honestly, in our opinion, offer fantastic options, and they do offer that inter-district transferability. It's just that Irvine itself is very rigid.
Yeah, and then speaking to what Sean was saying in terms of the transferability, so, I've had friends that, for whatever reason, maybe their kid had an issue with a teacher. This is at not necessarily even in Irvine. And they wanted to leave the school. They didn't like the principal. So in Irvine, it's a lot harder to do that. So, you just got to keep that in mind.
And even when you're saying it was 4th or 5th ranked in the country, that's actually kind of incredible in that Irvine itself is a pretty good sized school district.
Yeah.
So a lot of these other school districts, they're really small. Mm-hmm. Irvine's actually a good sized city, over 300,000 people. And obviously, lots of students there, and so the fact that even like Irvine and Laguna Beach tend to kind of go back and forth within the county as far as the number one school districts in the county according to niche.com. But Laguna Beach is like 1/10 of Irvine's size, right? So the fact that Irvine is consistently just good with that many students is pretty impressive.
Yeah, because the bigger the organization gets, the harder it is to run. Everyone knows that.
And again, these were like the kind of 3 things that Irvine's getting most famous for. There's lots of other things about Irvine that we didn't get into. Not that they're not important. It's just that these aren't like, again, the job situation, which is great here, the centrally located part of Orange County, which makes it very convenient to get to anywhere you need to go to in Southern California. These are all other things that we did not get into, which we've done in other videos, but it's just that we just want to focus on the 3 things that Irvine is particularly notable for.
But overall, I would say that Irvine is a fantastic place to live. I understand its reputation. And this is actually just coming from someone who didn't like Irvine when I first moved to Irvine. I actually hated it. I hated Irvine. But as I grew to understand why people liked it so much, I grew to love the convenience of Irvine and just honestly just how nice it is. It's just a nice place. You walk around and you're like, oh, this is nice.
It's like going to that master plan community aspect. Yeah. The streets are nice and wide. There's these thoroughfares here that makes it very easy to avoid traffic in lots of different ways. And also, there always seems to be an appropriate place for a strip mall, for a grocery store, or parks. We didn't even talk about the parks. It's just a whole master plan component of it that really makes Irvine a great place to live.
It's just so well kept, so manicured. You go there and you know you're in Irvine. It's just a nice place to live. And I understand why there's so many people that are clamoring for Irvine.
For sure. And remember, we are licensed realtors here in the state of California. So as much as we love making these videos, what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, what you want to do is you want to give us a call or shoot us a text.
Yes, that number is a cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country.